All right, hello, friends, and welcome back to the Gaming Dad Fujo Podcast. This is episode number 22, being recorded on May the 1st, 2024. I am Fujosevic, your host, former professional Hearthstone player, currently working as an analytical chemist in the pharmaceutical industry. This is a place where we get to talk about all the different gaming-related things that we used to talk about when we were streaming all the time and posting our daily YouTube videos. But instead of interrupting all our great chat with content, we're going to interrupt it with other interesting topics. And on today's episode, we will be talking about, at the very least, Skyrim's Speed Run world record being broken, Blizzcon 2024, and of course, there's always going to be more AAA games that are more worried about making money than great content. And yes, we're talking about City Skylines 2, and so much more. Let's get started. He's got no time to play video games. He's the Gaming Dad Fujo. Nailed it. All right, and as we're going to be jumping right in, of course, we're always going to do a friendly reminder. If you're on the YouTubes, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell beside the subscribe so you get notifications when we're posting. If you're following on the YouTubes, on your Spotify, places like that, please give us a 5 out of 5 stars. It helps more than you think. I appreciate that. Let's do a little Gaming Dad Fujo update. What have you been playing since the last time we all chatted? Maybe 1 or 2 nights of Tears of the Kingdom. I think we're still stuck at all 4 temples being done. Trying to work out some side quests, that sort of stuff. There's just so much to do. We're gonna see when we start pushing for the end boss. I did a little bit in Hyrule Castle. Got Link's super cool blue gear. That's interesting. A bunch more Brawl Stars. Brawl Stars, silly little mobile MOBA. It's fun. It's a fun, silly one I can play casually. There's a new Godzilla event going on in it. It's fun. I don't know. Again, like even with Hearthstone, like when we were doing a lot of Hearthstone, I don't take Brawl Stars seriously. I took Hearthstone seriously, but I didn't take it seriously. If you understand my meaning. Same thing with Brawl Stars. You know, I might play the ranked, I might play competitive modes, but I'm still going to be doing it to have fun and obviously get better and all that stuff. But it's a fun, silly little game that I'll stay free to play in. Unlike with Hearthstone, but those are kind of the big gaming updates. I don't know. That's kind of where we're going to be at. I think I'm going to try and push to make sure we get Tears of the Kingdom done sooner than late. Not that I want to be done with it. It can be a game that you play for a long time, but it's just it's been slipping a little. We want to get back to it. Is my point. All right, let's jump in to our first topic. BlizzCon 2024 canceled. It makes sense, but it's definitely end of an era. This is, obviously it's going to get wrapped up into future Microsoft events. Why would they spend a ton of money for things that are just going to be live streamed? We already talked about E3 is basically all but canceled. Nintendo has moved all of their stuff to their online streams, their directs, on Nintendo Directs. We talk about sometimes when they have cool Nintendo Direct updates. We're still sticking with the prediction. There's going to be a Switch 2 announcement, either released for this 2024 Christmas or early 2025 when there's a lot of games that have been announced that are going to be released. That would work great on the Switch too. That's still that prediction. We're not moving off of that. But this BlizzCon thing is it's funny timing. It makes sense that it's going to happen, like I said, with the Microsoft thing. But it's 20-year anniversary of WoW, 30-year anniversary of Warcraft, and 10-year anniversary of Hearthstone. So it's kind of really massive milestones that are going to be ignored. When you look at the early Blizzard conventions, you can find some of them online. I think it's just Jeff Kaplan talking in like an auditorium. It looks like with like a little projector on a trolley that you would have in like high school. I think back when I was in high school, I think it's a little more fancy now, but you understand it's kind of sad to see the way that, things have moved on, and some people definitely enjoyed the conventions for the social aspect. You're getting to talk to developers, people involved with the game, talk to other people who are involved with this stuff. So it's kind of sad to see that this big, massive one is disappearing, but it's the world has moved on sort of thing. And it's definitely an end of an era. Cheers to the good things that Blizzard has done and that BlizzCon has brought out, and none of the horrible things, because we've talked about a lot of them as well, but a lot of great gaming content has come out of it. And, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more stuff going. There'll be a new StarCraft. They got to do a StarCraft 3. It's been like 14 years since StarCraft 2 came out. They'll do more RTS work for sure. What are we going to move on to next? Bad Batch. Well, I happen to be watching a lot of Finding Nemo lately in the Fujo house for whatever reason. Little baby Fujos. I want to watch Shark. We know you mean Finding Nemo. I want Mimo. Okay, it's Finding Nemo, but we'll put it on. And we turn on the old Disney Plus, and Bad Batch series finale is now live. So we're still far behind. I don't know how many episodes are in this season, but we got to episode 9 where we saw Ventress, which was super cool. Obviously, they're talking about Omega's M count and the affinity of her being a Jedi and the name Omega, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. She's the end of the clone project. All of that they were able to clone someone that would have an M count that potentially be trained as a Jedi. So that's. I'm still again. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm predicting there's going to be some sort of how to hide and protect Omega. The surviving Bad Batch will try to make sacrifices of themselves. There might be discussion of sacrificing Omega. She might sacrifice herself so that no one can get their hands on her. I'm assuming Nalase will never give up her information of how they did the cloning. So I'm assuming it's going to be a heart-wrenching, tear-filled final couple episodes at the very least. But yeah, it's going to be, we're super excited. And obviously we talked about Tales of the Empires coming up in just a couple days from today, because it's the first and we're only 3 days away from Tales of the Empire. So we'll be talking about that moving forward. What's another cool, interesting gaming topic? Steam. Steam is kind of huge in the gaming world, right? Closed a funny little loophole in their user agreement. So Steam has this incredible policy where you can refund basically any game if you've played for less than 2 hours whenever you purchase it. The interesting thing is the way that their user agreement's currently worded is that's after a game is fully released, meaning not early access or beta versions. So now the change is that from that 2 hours starts from the second you have paid or downloaded and started playing it. Well, paid, obviously. How are they going to do a refund otherwise? So it just means you can't have hundreds of hours in an early access and then still refund it on launch. Which is kind of weird that it's ever been this way, because that seems like a ridiculous loophole. And obviously Steam has to make this move to, protect themselves. There's so many games come out to early access for multiple years, sometimes for months, and sometimes, like I said, years. So they have to protect themselves. And this is one of those that we often talk about, decisions in the gaming world driven by money. This is, I think, is still a reasonable change to not have people take advantage of this, and it keeps things fair. And it's still money driven. It's still a money driven decision, but I think it's totally reasonable and fair. So totally on board with that, obviously. That one just totally makes sense. Skyrim Speed Run. Okay. The Skyrim Speed Run is now down to 12 minutes. So whenever we talk about speedruns usually have a couple different, two main things the way I always think of it. Number one is there's going to be incredibly pixel perfect inputs. That's the most readily you can watch those in the Super Mario speedruns, right? You have these boys and girls who are just so absolutely accurate with when Mario's front foot pixel hits this bush, you have to hit and hold jump and then let go of jump after this point. And these certain sequences will always happen in certain ways, and they're able to run these levels way faster than any of us ever thought possible growing up. And then you also have things that are also utilized in the Skyrim speedrun and a lot of other speedruns where it's kind of game breaking. Right, you kind of exploit glitches to maybe teleport yourself around. In this one, we'll talk about this. You kind of launch yourself. So it's kind of interesting that, and then Skyrim kind of uses both of these things, right? There's a little bit of glitching. There's a little bit of, making sure you can optimize menus. You can optimize different things like that. So it's kind of interesting. So let's go through some details. So 3 years ago, there was a player named Waz who set the record at 14 minutes, 27 seconds. The current record was set by someone named Nuclear. Fantastic. Nuclear. It is pronounced nuclear. Which record now stands at 11 minutes, 47 seconds. And got to level 1. Started from level 1, obviously. Got all the way to level 80. Nuclear's claiming they can definitely get a sub 10 minute with a little more optimization. So what happens? Basically, there's a little... And of course, you always... Like I said, with some of the exploits, some of them are like saving glitches. You save in certain places, you teleport. I think we talked about that in WoW a little bit with the Season of Discovery. If you log out at certain points, if you log out on standing on top of a barrel or a bench or something like that where your character's feet aren't touching the floor, you're able to, depending on where you are and where you log out, when you log back in, your character will teleport to different locations, sometimes instance entrances. So that's kind of some manipulation there. So what happened is this character very quickly got themselves to become a vampire. They got themselves to get effectively teleported to Windhelm instead of Whiterun. And then they crafted They hit level 80 via alchemy, and then they crafted a really strong two-handed weapon, shield, and a one-hander, all with 20 plus 20k stats, just so we're clear. And then basically they're able to run in and take out the Ebony Knight in one hit instead of the two from the previous speed run. So it's just it's so cool to me that, like, people have these incredible strats for this is I know it's Skyrim and it's been released 4 times this year already, remastered, collector's edition, ultra remastered, HD remastered, no mods allowed remastered. I know it's Skyrim, right? It plays on everything. It's a 12-year-old game, and people are still speed running these things, and people are still speed running the Super Marios and all this incredible stuff. And it's so cool just to see that these people get passionate about these games and they work on these things and they have different optimizations and craft this thing and run here. It's just so interesting to see when this stuff comes together and when people work on it and just try. It's a really, really interesting little subculture of gaming that I'm always so interested in, and super cool. Skyrim, 12 years old, beat it in under 12 minutes now, which is cheers to them. It's well done, well done. What's the next thing we're gonna get into? Oh, of course, update. We talked about this probably about a year ago at this point. British Columbia, Canada's decriminalization of drug use. Easy for me to say. Like I said, we talked about it a while ago. They basically had to do an update because the previous wording of the decriminalization, I should have practiced saying that out loud. Holy, that's a tough tongue twister. So basically now you're not allowed to be using all these drugs in public, is basically the summary of it. And police now have the power to move people who are using these drugs away, and if necessary, arrest the person if required. So this kind of makes sense, and it's kind of really great to see, hey, they tried something, the decriminalization, to try and have a better impact than just fill up the courts. And we went into the whole, we don't need to relitigate this. We don't need to relitigate it. We understand the idea behind it. And they're saying, hey, it's not necessarily working. Let's try and make a tweak. Let's try and improve this. So I think it's a good thing. They kind of makes it more like alcohol, where alcohol's legal, but you do it at your house or somewhere that's licensed. That that seems all right to me, and let's hope it works, because they're trying to make it more of the mental health than incarceration to be the fix here. So I mean, why not? If it's able to have people we need to spend less tax dollars on incarceration and can actually help more people, all for it. So that's kind of a cool update. We do like to do updates on some of our interesting stories. So we'll see if this makes any difference. Maybe not. What's another great gaming topic? We mentioned it in the opening. City Skylines 2 DLC was released just after the last episode, the weekend of March 20th, and it completely broke the game. So people paid money for a DLC. It's City Skylines is basically the spiritual successor to SimCity, right? And there's a DLC for it, and it basically broke the game. You can just look, you can Google pictures if you're interested. It's a lot of the, you look around, you have your town, and you have your roads, and you have a power plant, and you have places for people to work, and all this sort of stuff, right? You have a park, and all these different things. And a lot of the towns, the buildings were just loading as gray rectangles, which are basically just placeholders for actual models and textures should have been loaded. And this is for a game that already is out, and then you paid more money for it, and then that update has now broken your game that you've already paid for and then paid more for. It's horrible, because it's like City Skylines and City Skylines 2 was able to become so popular because EA fumbled SimCity 2013 so badly in similar ways to this, game-breaking ways, that it made room for City Skylines to become so popular and to kind of take that market over. And it kind of feels like it's just this vicious cycle of these AAA games, quote-unquote AAA game studios, supposedly supposed to be the highest quality and quote-unquote the best. And they're just constantly pushing, we need to get this DLC out, we need to generate revenue, because we need to optimize, shareholder value. And it's, if this thing is not optimizing shareholder value, then what are we doing? And it just stinks, because this is not really a game or game genre that I'm really super interested in. It's not something I'm really that like big in. I played the SimCity back in Oh, what was the first? What was the first system that I mean? Was it gonna be? I guess would it be PC or maybe there's a Super Nintendo one that I played originally. And it's just it's not my cup of tea. I like the only strategy of building things I like is Warcraft 3, that sort of thing. But I understand it's a massive genre, and it just why can't they just take a little bit of time? I'm assuming some of the developers would have realized something was wrong at some point in some sort of testing, and it gets pushed out, and it's just another horrible. I feel like we can almost we have to put this in a whole separate category. Sometimes we'll do like a sports update, which I realize I haven't done my sports update, and I'm gonna move into now. I feel like we can basically just have like every episode, which AAA games completely disappointed and upset their fans or broke things within their incredibly high budgeted development of their games. And I think we can just kind of do that the same way we do our sports updates as well. It's so weird that it is such a trend. It's every episode we talk about one or two things. Massive games have massive sales on Steam, have massive player bases on Steam. You can see these things publicly. And the developers just can't take the extra time to put out high quality products, and it's just disappointing. It's just disappointing that it keeps happening that way. Yeah, and you know what? We'll just keep talking about it because it's good fun to to see these things. But let's be honest, we do talk about a lot of cool. We talk about a lot of the positive things, speedrun records, things like that. So we can have these, but we're still looking at it with it's always with the idea of why aren't we doing better, right? Like why aren't things better than they are right now? And that's we always try to take a look at it that way, not the super negative. It's not the super negative way, let's be honest. Okay, and we mentioned sports updates. NHL playoffs are live, and as of a couple days ago, I was expecting this to be a moratorium on the Toronto Maple Leafs playoff run and the team and blowing it all up. But let's go through the Toronto Maple Leafs playoffs so far. They're playing Boston Bruins. It was supposed to be Florida basically the whole time until the Leafs couldn't win for the last 2 weeks of the season. It's fine. We're not going to get into that. Playoff start. Boston. So first, before we even play a game, Willie Nylander, one of Toronto's core four. Toronto basically has four incredibly highly paid players, basically five. You include Morgan Riley, but it's referred to as the core four, right? Willie Nylander, for some reason, is absent from the first 3 games, but attending all practices, traveling with the team. And all we hear is, well, he's not available to play. But he looks good on the ice during practice, according to the reporters who are there. But he's just not dressing for the games. So that's the first really weird thing. And again, we're just getting this weird, not available, not feeling right. He's not ready to go yet. We'll tell you when he's ready to go. When he's ready to go, he'll be on the ice. The ultimate, hockey is really good at the generalization of it's an upper body injury, it's a lower body injury. That's at least something, because then you can go back to the tape and say, oh yeah, he landed on his leg weird. That makes sense that it's a lower body injury. He got hit in the head. It makes sense that it's an upper body injury. That at least you can just not ready. So weird. So that's first thing. The Leafs are then down after the first 3 games, down 2-1 in the series. William Nylander comes back for Game 4. Game 4 is this past Saturday from when this is recorded and when it will be posted. And it's the worst effort that I think I've seen a hockey team make since ever, possibly, especially on the professional level. And after the second period, the Leafs leading scorer, Austin Matthews leaves the game. He's the best goal scorer ever since he entered the league. He scored more points, more goals than anyone else. And he just doesn't come back for the third period. And that's, again, there's no explanation after. And then the Leafs lose, and it's bad. People are pointing fingers. The media is pointing fingers. This person's horrible. Going to fire that person, fire the coach, the management, trade 8 players, all this stuff, right? And Austin Matthews just leaves. And all we hear is from the coach is, well, there's an illness. It just seems to get worse when he exerts himself. That's weird. What is this mystery illness that does this? But, again, he was playing all the other games. He showed up to all the other games. Willie Nylander's now in. Austin Matthews somehow out whenever he exerts himself. There's a practice that 2 days after that game, he's on the ice for 8 minutes, then leaves and doesn't play in Game 5. Game 5 was last night from when this is recorded. Excellent effort by everyone who's on the ice. In the Leafs win, and the series is now 3-2 for Boston. Leafs game is tomorrow in Toronto. I don't know. And here's the thing. Sports to me is a fun, much like, again, like we played Hearthstone. We don't take it, you miss your top decks. You don't take it seriously because you've chosen to play Hearthstone, right? like that was always my approach. Oh, you bad top deck. It was 20%. You always miss your 20%. That's fine. That's 100% fine, right? Same thing with sports, right? Sports is this vicious cycle of you lose all your hope because your team loses. Because let's be honest, almost every team, there's only one team that gets a championship every year, so your team loses. And then something happens and you start to have a little bit of hope. And then things are going well and you fully believe in your team. And then your team loses and you have no hope. And so it's kind of that, I don't want to say vicious cycle, because to me it's a fun cycle of sports, is that circle of enjoying it. And you take the good with the bad, the good performance with the bad performance, right? So it just, I don't know where I am in terms of believing in the Leafs. I hope they win. I hope that in 2 weeks we're still talking about the Leafs in the playoffs. I think it'd be hilarious, because the Leafs having an incredible Game 5 is the most Leaf thing to do. They should have just bowed out meekly and gone away, and somehow they pull off this incredible effort. Boston Bruins just looked faster and stronger all series long, basically. And the Leafs come out and are fantastic. So it's the most Leaf thing to do. Who knows what's gonna? I hope the Leafs keep going. We know we're trying, and if they're out, we'll have a moratorium on the season and this group and all that stuff. But it's been a ton of fun. It's the weirdest team, I think, the most inconsistent team, and we'll see what's going on. It's just cheers to the Leafs. I hope when they win, they've already won by the time this is posted, and there is a Game 7 in the series, because that'll be a lot of fun. And speaking about series, let's get into some wrestling news. There's going to be 2 wrestling stories right now. AEW. Tony Khan. So this one's silly. This is silly. Tony Khan takes a pile driver from Jack Perry. Now, Tony's dad owns the NFL team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. So later that week, Tony shows up to the NFL draft, because when your dad owns an NFL team, you get to go to do cool things like go to the draft. And he's wearing a soft neck brace to sell that he took this vicious pile driver, right? But it's a soft brace, so during it, you keep seeing him look around, look to the left, look to the right. He's moving his head side to side. Not really, he's selling the pile driver with the neck brace, but not really selling the injury, right? Tony then has an interview with the NFL Network, which I've looked into some fair use laws and all that. I feel like I should start playing clips. It takes a bit more, setup and all that. But in some of these cases, with some of these things, I feel like I probably should. But he says, when people, the NFL Network asked him about his neck brace, and they talked about AEW, and his response about AEW is that, quote, "We're like the Pepsi of wrestling, and our major competitor is Harvey Weinstein," end quote. So there's a lot going on there. First of all, classic Pepsi's major competitor to me has always been Coca-Cola. So that's a little bit different than where I was expecting that to go. And then the Harvey Weinstein part, of course, all direct comment about Vince McMahon, the allegations, the lawsuits, fair. However, AEW's hands are definitely not clean. They currently employing Ric Flair after tons of allegations have come out, and a bunch more wrestlers. And the thing is, this doesn't really help AEW anyways. It gets people talking, but not about the product, not about the wrestlers, not about the stories, not the cool matches, not about, they have international, matches with people, wrestlers from Mexico, from Japan, all over the world. It's just the president taking shots at Vince. And as a side note, Vince has officially actually filed to sell all of his remaining TKO shares. So he's massively cashing out of his own company. And don't get me wrong, obviously will forever be tied to the WWE and everything it does. But it's not, I don't think it's helping AEW in the way that is expected to be helping it. It's just, there's a lot of great wrestlers in AEW, but that should be the selling point and the pushing point. So it was just, big comment for the sake of trying to get attention and get people talking and stuff. I don't think it's helping AEW necessarily the way it should be. And when you have that platform, I think you can be selling your product. You have massive platform. You can be selling your product, I feel, better than that. And then I feel like it's an honorable mention to bring up something CM Punk and Drew McIntyre did. But they always do something. This I think is the greatest. This is greatest feud of the year already. It's May 1st, 100%. No one's outdoing this. So let's see how this all starts. So WWE posts a video of CM Punk. I think they're at a show or a hotel or somewhere, And there's a couple of young fans who have this sign that says CM Poop. And CM Punk walks over and he's laughing and he loves. He says, I have to sign this. Let's take a picture, shaking hands. It's a really sweet interaction, right? He seems to love it as much as the young fans do. They're all laughing. Drew McIntyre retweets this with the caption, "You're old, you're hurt, and you get bullied by children," which of course is a throwback to CM Punk's, which again, I should have this clip of him saying, he has this famous quote when he's leaving, as he's on his way out of AEW, about how he's old and he's hurt and he works with children. I'm paraphrasing there, removing all the F-bombs that he drops. So Drew McIntyre, excellent callback. Like, it's just fantastic. And like, you know what? It's not the feud it's the feud of the past 5 years. And they haven't even had a match, right? This is the best thing. They haven't even fought, and it's just so good. They just keep going back and forth like this. I feel like they're just having so much fun with it. Because they know eventually it'll be I think it'll be a great match. Well, how could it not be, right? They're both fantastic. All right, so the next update here is Drew McIntyre has this interview, and he's talking about CM Punk, and he says, "I'll tear you apart on social media. I'll step from behind the keyboard. I'll tear you apart physically, and if I wasn't married, I'd take your girl too. That's the type of troll I am." So Drew then backpedaled that one a little bit. He felt maybe he kind of feels like he kind of overstepped. He said, he meant it more in general, didn't mean to be specific. He did name AJ Lee, which again, I think is the part that he really regrets. I don't think he wanted to make it like that personal, but the fact that he backpedaled, again, staying with the fact that these two have been going back and forth so much, I really hope that CM Punk still capitalizes that and like just calls, "Oh, look, you're fake, you're backing out of the things that you said," and like Punk can push this and will just make Drew like get even more upset, and it'll just continue to snowball. So that was actually like an interesting thing, the fact that that was just hours ago, like I said, that Drew tweeted out the apology for saying that, which is it's interesting. I understand why he wouldn't want to go that far necessarily, but like I said, I think they're going to keep rolling with this. It's going to be, and they can stretch it out. They can stretch this out for so long, for so long. And I mean, they have been, obviously, because Punk has been hurt, but it's just so good that this is such a strong feud. They've never fought. It's just, I can't wait. And you know what? Hopefully by the time they're fighting, WWE's on Netflix, and then I can just watch it a lot easier. That's my big hope for this as well. Okay. I think that's going to be the last topic for this episode. We're going to end with a hypothetical scenario, maybe even scenario, depending how you prefer the pronunciation of that. So I'm not going to give my answer. We're going to talk about that next episode. Message in the comments, tweet me about it, Instagram me about it. In the reviews of the podcast, do that as well for your feedback. So, hypothetical scenario. You're on an island for 1 year, okay? On this island, you're completely cut off from the rest of civilization, except you have in it a gaming computer. Any gaming computer, any gaming systems that you want. You only have 3 games. And you can't pick, I'm going to pick a 50-in-1 game. No, none of that. This is a magic computer. There's no loopholes like that, okay? You only have 3 games to entertain yourself, and you don't have internet connection. So it has to be 100% offline. So you can't just say World of Warcraft, because that seems pretty easy. Just log on and grind and do a raid, and you're still in. No. You're completely isolated for an entire year. You magically, again, you have a magical building in this tropical island. It's a tropical island, just so we're clear. Just so you know, it's tropical island. You can go for swims and stuff and get some sun, but safe. Be careful with the sun, everyone. Be careful out there. It's dangerous. You can enjoy the sun safely. You have 3 video games. What are you choosing? Okay? None of this, you can't, okay? So there's no internet connection? It's only 3 offline games? What are you going to do? And I don't want to hear, I'm going to do a custom World of Warcraft offline server. No. None of that junk. Okay? Think about it. Reflect on it. Give me a response in the comments. That's what I want to see right now. Okay, and that's going to be it for today. Next episode, what are we doing? Obviously, a full recap of the Bad Batch final season, everything, impact, fantastic, incredible impact, that's for sure. We're going to be talking about some Final Fantasy VI ROM hacks. I wanted to get that in today. We're going to cut it. We're going to put it for next episode. And there's one that I want to get into myself. It's a translation of an excellent Japanese ROM hack. We're going to talk about it in a little bit more detail. Like I said, next episode, that's what I want to get into after Tears of the Kingdom is kind of wrapped up. That's going to be it, like I said. I hope you're all doing well out there whenever and wherever you are. Have a good morning, afternoon, or evening. Stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And we will talk again sometime very, very soon. Bye-bye.